Hey friends, welcome to our midweek moment. Pastor Nicole here. The last couple of weeks we have taken a little Holy Land tour of the sites where the Christmas story takes place. So we've taken a look at Nazareth and Ein Karem, and we've been to Bethlehem. Today we're going to take a little bit of a longer journey away from Israel and head to Egypt. And the reason why we're doing that is because we are going to take a look at where Jesus and his family fled after the Magi came to visit. Now, when we read the story of the Magi, sometimes we think about them coming to visit Jesus on the night he was born at the manger. So a lot of our nativity scenes, mine included, show the Magi there with the shepherds and Mary and Joseph and the baby and the animals, and they're all there together. But really, a lot of scholars say that the Magi probably didn't show up for 2 to 3 years after Jesus was born. And there's a couple of reasons we think that. The first is that Herod has all the baby boys under the age of 3 ordered to be killed. And so if he was looking for 3-year-olds, probably wasn't a newborn. The other thing is that in the Greek, the word that is used is paidos, and that's really a word for like a toddler, a child, rather than like a newborn child. So back to the visit. Let's talk a little bit about that. So after the Magi come, Joseph receives a dream saying that they need to head out of Israel in order to keep Jesus safe. So they do, and they head to Egypt. So when I was in the Holy Land, we had this amazing opportunity to do an extension trip into Egypt. And we actually followed the path that tradition holds Mary and Joseph took when they left Israel and fled to Egypt. So we were on a bus driving through the Egyptian desert, through the area where the road was that Jesus, Mary, and Joseph would have taken. Now, Egypt has a rich history of what happened while Jesus was in Egypt. Now, we don't have those stories in our Bible, but it is something that the Coptic Christians in Egypt hold very dear. And so we were able to hear some of those stories and see some of those places where tradition says Jesus, Mary, and Joseph stayed. One of the things that we learned when we were in Egypt is that they moved around a lot, which makes sense. You know, Joseph probably moved around to find jobs where there was work, and then they just moved on to the next city. We had a chance particularly to see some places in Cairo, where we were staying there. And so I want to show you some pictures. The first is just some beautiful mosaics that is at a church that is there, the Hanging Church it's called. The church doesn't have a direct connect to infant Jesus or child Jesus, but they do really hold that Jesus was in Egypt close to their heart, as you might, like a source of pride that the Messiah was in their country and was in that city, lived in that city. So you see these wonderful images. You see the picture here of Joseph being visited by the angel. My favorite is this picture of Mary giving Jesus a bath, and there's lots of stories of Jesus and water in Egypt, and this is one of them, that Jesus created a spring. It was a miracle that he performed and created this spring of water, and Mary washed his clothes and washed Jesus. One of the things I love about this mosaic, I think it is so beautiful, is that there is an angel down in the well helping guide the bucket to the water. And I just, I love that. I thought that was such a clever detail for the artist to include. So Jesus, as you might imagine in a desert culture, has all of these stories surrounding him, that he created a spring or that he made a well be able to appear, and those kind of things. Those are kind of some of the stories that are told in Egypt. Another place that we were able to visit is the Cavern Church, and this place was pretty cool. You can see the upstairs of the church here. So it's a modern day church where Coptic Christians gather to worship. But if you go down into the basement, it's always down in the basement, isn't it? If you go down into the basement, there is this cavern built, or carved out of the rock, kind of this little room. And that is where they say Jesus and Mary and Joseph stayed for about 3 months. That's where they lived when they were in Cairo for that time that they stayed there. So it's pretty cool place to see. Of course, you know, it's all legend or, you know, stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. But we might imagine that Jesus would have had to stay somewhere and that his family would have stayed somewhere, and that as his fame came to become known, that would have been a place that would have been preserved. That story would have continued to have been told. So I wanted to share that with you. I thought it was an amazing piece of the Egyptian experience that we had. Of course, we got to see, you know, the pyramids and all the antiquities and things like that. But it was particularly neat to be able to feel a connection to Jesus in Egypt. I thought that was a pretty cool place. So I wanted to share that with you today. And tune in next week. We've got one more week where we'll be traveling to the Holy Land. We will be back in Nazareth next week as we look at the character of Joseph. And we're going to hear a sermon about him on Sunday, so you're not going to want to miss that. And then we'll take a look at the place where Joseph is said to have grown up in Nazareth. So check back next week. I hope y'all have a wonderful week, continuing to celebrate Christmas, and I hope you're able to spend some time with your friends and loved ones and family. All right, we'll see y'all next time. Bye.